Hello YouTube, Time Itself here, and I'm playing some Domination on Havana today. Originally, I wanted to make this video about the terrible spawn system in Black Ops as we try to spawn trap a team. But the game was played on the 17th of November, and the patch came out I think on the 19th, so that became less applicable, and I had to go back and kind of redo things. The part about spawn trapping a team on this map is still pretty good, so I'm going to keep that. And the spawn system still has a long way to go to get up to the affinity ward standards of spawning, so I'm going to go ahead and still talk about it even though the exact examples in this game don't quite work anymore. As maps go, Havana is a close cousin to Crossfire from the original Modern Warfare game Call of Duty 4. That is that there's a long central street with roads that go off in opposite directions on either end where A and C are located. Around the street, buildings offer a lot of cover, but out in the street, you're going to be a target for just about everyone who's sitting up in the buildings. So what we want to do is make them run out into the street, but they don't have much cover, and we have lots of cover from the buildings. We're going to do that by cutting them off on this inside corner by the fountain, and this is what makes it easy. I mean, just look at this. Both cover and lighting work to our advantage by the fountain, as they have to run through the door and just get slaughtered, and it's really a defender's dream. I'm going to talk about that spot some more in a little bit, but if they can't come through on this inside corner, they have to go out into the street, and my buddy Shore is watching the street with his M16. Man, you may only have to look one way, but as soon as you stick your head out, you're dead. And he picks up a nice 4-piece right there. But that's going to lead us into our first issue with the Black Ops spawn system, again pre-patch. You see that guy spawns, and there are 5 dead teammate indicators on his HUD. And the game doesn't want to spawn him by his dead teammates, so instead it spawns him out of the trap and right behind me. I think he's alive for less than 5 seconds before he kills me, and that's just kind of ridiculous. And it's gotten better, but they still haven't fixed it yet. I don't want to get off on too much of a rant here, but I do have to wonder how that made it past the playtesting and into the released game. And this has been a consistent issue for this game, and it's very obvious if you play at all that the spawn system doesn't work right. I have to think the beta testers just were not doing their job. I mean, I watched some of those early gameplays posted on YouTube too, and you watch them and you think, oh, this is some random guy who got the game. And after playing it for a while, I start to think, well, no, those were the actual people they had beta testing it, and they really didn't know what they were doing. I hope that's wrong, I really do, but what I've seen so far has not convinced me otherwise. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this from another angle. I'm going to split screen here to an overhead view and talk about cutting them off on this inside corner. So as I mentioned, we've got the door in front of this fountain that serves as our first choke point to make them go around the outside corner here, and Real Link is going to push in just a little too far and cause the spawn to flip. At any rate, by cutting off this inside corner, we force them out into the street at the very least. As we've already seen, the street isn't exactly the place where they want to be. That essentially just leaves them going around the far side of that corner on the street, behind the truck, and to the other building to the left of B. Now, eventually these guys figure out what the situation is, and they finally do start trying to go all the way around on the outside, but it takes them a while, and the game's pretty much over by that point. My expectation is that eventually we'll only need 1, maybe 2 people by this fountain in order to hold this inside corner. And that will free up everyone else to go shoot them as they try to run across the street, which reminds me very much of Crossfire and why I liked that map so very much. Note that there's still plenty of map back behind A and in their spawn that I'm not showing on the overhead view. It makes me wonder if there weren't some interesting tactics possible with this spawn system. For example, have your entire team commit suicide and spawn on the map randomly, all with ghosts suddenly, and the other team will be very confused about what just happened. So by this point in the game, everyone on my team has realized that we have a serious problem on this map with them spawning behind us here, and everyone's getting pretty attuned to the minimap and watching out for them to start doing that. So I'm going to blow up the minimap, and I want you to watch what happens when they start spawning behind us this time. 4 of us are over by the fountain, and 2 decide that that's too many and head off towards B, but the UAV scan says there's a guy back here, at least 1, and 4 blue arrows turn around, and well, pretty quickly we get 1 down and go back to 2 guys hunting him down, but still just immediate reaction on the UAV scan to try and keep them from spawning behind us. And because we get them so fast, they don't keep spawning back there, at least for a little bit. Now, some people might say that that's trying to get them out of the spawn trap, and I don't see it that way. I just see it as really bad spawns for both parties involved. As long as we have a UAV up and he's not Ghost, either one of us or the guy that just spawned behind us is going to be dead within 5 seconds. If he's going to spawn out of the spawn trap, it needs to be over behind C and way out of it, so that we go ahead and push through A and take it, and they take C. None of this spawning right just on the other side of B business. That does not work. I know I've said it before, but spawn location is an incredibly important part of game types where you do respawn. The spawn locations are going to determine where the fighting takes place on the map. Good players are going to try and make sure that the first fight is on their terms, but also the second and subsequent fights. If I had to come up with another game that was closely related in that way, I'd say it was billiards. In the short term, the shots you need to take aren't too hard to see, but it's setting up for the ones to come that really determines who's a good player. In the case of domination, we're looking to push forward and establish a static front to keep them off of our side of the map. Since there's no respawn delay, if we can't control an area, we're forced into simply killing them as fast as they respawn. Here we have another example of the crazy spawn system that we started out with in this game. I'm actually the furthest one forward by the fountain, and then we put a napalm strike in between A and B, and they start spawning all the way back by C. When the spawns are doing this sort of thing, it doesn't matter if you dominate. In fact, it's probably not a bad idea at all, since they'll have to hop on a point and you'll get a notification about where they're spawning. They still haven't completely fixed this, and so you'll get split spawns, where a team will spawn on both A and C, on opposite sides of the map in alternating fashion, and there's no telling what's going on, and if you don't have a UAV up, or the guys are ghost, or if you just don't have any communication, it's impossible to tell what's going on. Anyway, that little fiasco with the spawns there just ended my 18 kill streak. I'm not going to make the problem any better by dropping a napalm strike right down the side street at A. But that's just me being naive about the spawns, because look who just spawned next to me, and free kill I guess, so thank you guy. So they're finally trying to go through this hotel to get around to C. But I don't think it's so much that they realize they need to go around the outside corner here, it's that they're just spawning in this area, because that's why they're headed back this way. They think we've pushed in on A, and they're trying to come back and kill us. When you just look at the UAV, the spawns are everywhere, it's crazy. I can do okay in this kind of environment normally, but I'd rather just go back to my fountain and camp and get my kills. It certainly seems to make for better games for me in general, and it really seems to help my team a lot, and on the whole we do better as a team when we can lock them down like that. So I keep going on and on about how great a spot it is over by the fountain. And you think, well, just grenade the guy out of there. It's a little bit trickier than you might think. So some friends and I went into a private match and practiced grenading this spot from A. It turns out that the angle of the roofs of the buildings make it a little bit of a hard throw, and that you have to be out towards the central street further, and you can't do it right from A. And it's right on the edge of the range for the Semtex, and you'll need to jump in order to make it go all the way to behind the fountain. If you don't, you're probably just going to land it in the fountain or in front of it. With a normal frag grenade, there's enough space behind the fountain that the grenade can roll back behind the person who's standing there, and it won't really hurt them. So the trick is to go ahead and bounce it off the wall behind them so that the grenade rolls to their feet. And finally, you don't have to throw the grenade from by A, you can go over towards the street and throw it over the low wall, have it roll back and kill the guy camping by the fountain. Okay, so you can grenade that guy and it's really not that hard, but that's a useful spot in almost any game type, just because by controlling this point, you make them travel a lot further in a lot more risky directions, so CTF, even Team Death, and probably lots of other game types that I don't play as much of, that's a useful place to spot up and try and get easy kills. Anyway, it looks like the game is winding down here with 5 points left. I know I did a lot of split screening in this video, both on just overhead views, other player views of this game, and even some stuff that was not part of this game. I hope it wasn't too confusing. Let me know what you thought of that. And that will be the end of the game there. I wound up going 32-3. I hope you enjoyed the game, I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and thanks for watching.